Salute a tutti, Ferrari Van Sixowan vi saluta e benvenuti all'aeroporto di Linate, situato nella città di Milano, Italia. Oggi la nostra missione è trovare ed esplorare l'autodromo nazionale di Monza, sede del Gran Premio d'Italia di Formula 1. Greetings all, Ferrari Man 601 here, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yes, today we're going to continue our series of finding racetracks in this wonderful 1-to-1 scale emulated world. We're looking for Monza today, and keen-eyed viewers to the series may note that we have got the TBM 930 as we had in our Road America video, and unfortunately that video ended in a rather unfortunate crash. However, we're looking to put that right today. I do not attempt to kill you guys today. I hope so. None of this has been planned out, really. But we have got an incentive not to crash this one because it's got a customized tail number. Yes, Foxtrot 601. I wonder what that could be a very cheap illusion to. But yes, same aircraft that we have flown before in this series, and hopefully it goes a little bit better. We are here on runway 36 at Linate Airport, just outside Milano, Italy. And, well, if I've done my calculations correctly, as in if I looked at Google Earth the right way around, Monza should be due north of here, which means we just have to fly runway heading, and hopefully we will find the circuit and see what Flight Simulator have done with it. We have got to get ourselves some electricity, and now that I am well familiar with this aircraft, but I've never landed it successfully, at least not back at our origin, we've got to get everything up and running, which it appears we will do without much drama, now that we know how to start the engine and all of that stuff. We've got our cockpit alive, caution and warning for oil pressure and things like that. The pitot heat is off, we know that. I don't really care. Fuel tank is selected on the right. Our throttle control will go into low idle. There we go.
TOS system test. Okay.
Yes, good to know that our instruments are going to work. And looks like we are going to get our engine started in a moment. Starter on. We have shaft RPM. Do we? Sounds like we do. Yes, we have prop RPM. Looking for fuel flow. We have oil pressure. Looking for fuel flow. Do we have it? Waiting for the ITT to come up. Got the starter on. Ignition on. All right, ITT coming up. We have fuel flow, obviously. The engine will spool up, and then the clutches and the gearbox will engage with the prop fully to bring the prop RPM up. All right, there we go. Prop RPM is going to be coming up. Our ITT is going to go off scale high in a moment. Get our throttle into flight position. And prop RPM coming up. Beautiful. Oil pressure is in a green. Oil temperature is in a green. That looks fine. Let's get ourselves a generator. That's good. Our undervolt caution warning is gone. And let's get, that's our circuit breaker light on, airframe de-ice, ice lights and things like that. We're going to get a caution warning for pitot heat. All the while, I don't really care. It's not cold enough to have anything freeze, and we're not going to be going high enough to really worry about that. But everything is fired up. And as we said, a runway heading out of here should be sufficient to find Monza. Parking brakes released. Throttling up. There we go. A little bit of right rudder to counteract the torque effects of the propeller. And again, I'm just using an Xbox controller here, so it's very difficult to just apply the perfect amount of rudder just to cancel out the torque without making the aircraft lurch around. But we've got 95 knots, 100 knots, we can lift off, and there we go. Gear coming up. Gear is still in transit. Gear is up.
Ferrymon 601, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Right.
Linden Tower Ferrymon 601, frequency change.
Well, the computer voices can't quite render Ferrari Man correct. Oh well, we tried. Our flaps up, and if you look out the lower left corner of the windscreen, you can see some heat shimmer. That must be exhaust from our engine. That's pretty cool. But regardless, what do we have outside? We have got a sunny morning over the city, and we're basically flying due north, which is essentially runway heading, because we are trying to find Monza, which should be dead ahead in a perfect world. Looking very fine out there this morning. Already traffic out there on the highway, or l'autostrada as they might say in Italian. And I think that big patch of green basically right in front of us is going to be where the circuit is, because the circuit is situated in formal royal hunting grounds. The nobility of the Milano area would have had, obviously, possession of all of this land at one time, but they had private residences and things in what is now the circuit grounds. And there is a lot of sun glare over to the right side of the cockpit. We're doing 191 knots or so. And I think we have a circuit sighted dead ahead. That looks awfully suspect. Our prop RPM is high. We're at 3,300 feet mark and descending. Yep, Monza in sight, dead ahead, no doubt about it. I can see up toward the right-hand side, those are the Lesmo corners, and then the banking, quite obviously, is plainly visible. And we're heading in the direction of travel here in terms of curva parabolica, and then the start-finish straight. What exactly can we see? Well, we have ITT high. I don't know why we have ITT high.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
But there it is. There's start finish, the infield. First chicane. That's pretty cool. I am trying to get this thing slowed down. Curva grande. La Roccia right there, visible, and then the Lesmo corners. It does not appear that we have 3D trees in this section of the circuit. That's interesting. There are, of course, a lot of trees around Monza, but they're not all rendered here in 3 dimensions. Gonna make things a little interesting.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
the infield areas that we hardly ever get to see on television. There's Parabolica. And you can see all of this vast expanse of what should be forest. It's all just rendered flat. It's a little disappointing, actually. And of course, getting over the town. That looks really cool, I gotta say. If not totally accurate, but it looks cool. Anyway, we got to think about where we're going to land. So obviously, start finish is right below us, and there's a building down start finish that doesn't help our cause. The back straight, Ascari chicane is right there. I think trying to land on Ascari might be our best bet. You know, the back straight. We'll get ourselves some distance away. Oh, there's the back seat. Get a little bit of altitude. We'll hang a left and we'll get back there. Lots of early morning sun glare coming in. Landing gear is coming out. We over-rotate our turn here. Nope, not quite enough. Okay. So we can see the Ascari chicane. Obviously, we want to make a landing after that. I don't know if everything is clear back there. There is a building down start finish, so that negates the possibility of us landing at that portion of the circuit, but we could well make a landing here, which is what we're going to try. Landing gear is down and locked with 3 green. We got some trees about a quarter of the way down the straight, so we're going to have to come down after them, and there may well be an obstruction farther down about halfway. I don't know if that's a raised bridge or not. It does appear to be, though. Yeah, we're going to treat it as if it is. It appears to be. So we got to set it down right here before Parabolica. Grass coming into view. And down a bit sideways. Touchdown. Brakes and thrust reversers and parking brakes immediately. Get it stopped. Okay. Parking brake is off. Try to get the thrust reverser out and just apply the parking brake immediately. Oh well. However, we are on the ground. And this is Parabolica, the exit. We have got some context correct, but location-specific, totally wrong looking buildings here along the inside of the circuit. These look like little Renaissance-era Italian houses, but again, they are a bit out of place. Well, they don't even look particularly Renaissance-era, they just kind of look particularly wrong. And to the left-hand side, you can see that we have got ourselves, warehouses. This is the pit entrance, and I think we will pull up and stop here. Okay. Right. We'll shut the engine down. All of our master cautions and things for oil pressure, and all of that. We know we don't particularly care. But we're on the ground here at Monza. So we found it. Now, what's actually here? First of all, you can see not a whole lot, but our igniter is still firing, I think. Which should not be because there is no power to anything. Ignition is off. See if that shuts down the clicking noise. Yes, okay, so that was some heads up thinking by me. The spark plug still fires even when the battery master is off. Good to know. We would have totally evacuated the charge from the battery and we would have killed the engine, or killed the spark plugs at very least, which means we would not get this thing started again. But if we go to our showcase camera, what is here? Well, first of all, we've got our aircraft and it's sitting in rather tall grass. So once again, we have got another circuit that is rendered mostly in grass. Again, when you get higher up, it starts to look more and more correct. And as you can see, as we pull out here, things start to look more and more convincing in terms of what this place should look like. There's Parabolica. There's the back straight. There's Ascari. And then looking up there toward the Lesmo corners. That's not too bad. Down start finish, there is a colossal building right down the middle of the road, which regrettably, quite regrettably, completely kills any chance of doing a lap around here. But from the air, it doesn't look terrible. And if we pull out a little bit more quickly, you see the proportions of all of it. The banking also visible. We'll take a look down there as well. And then here. Actually, got to get some pretty substantial altitude before we really start to see the entire picture. But there it is. At least the footprint of the track is replicated, and it looks pretty nice from a distance. But again, as with all things so far, in terms of racetrack recreations in Flight Simulator, yep, we've got some problems. So, coming down toward ground level, we'll head down start-finish. You can see the starting grid slots start to come in. What is this supposed to be? I mean, I know that this is where the podium is, and it is roughly circular, but what is this? It looks like just a whole bunch of slate shingle roofs have been tied together, and there must be some sort of a furnace or something underneath because it just looks ridiculously apocalyptic. But there's a little platform here cut out where the podium would be. Interesting. Of course, this would be raised quite a bit higher than this, but yes. These garage buildings are supposed to be the grandstands, I assume, and this stupendous-looking windowed structure is supposed to be the pit building. Speaking of buildings, why do we have garages down the start-finish straight? It's just bizarre. But we've seen this before. We saw this at Imola, and now another Italian track with a building down the start-finish straight. We go inside it. Yeah, you can see the scan continues all the way. The timing line, at least in terms of starting a lap. Starting the race begins here. The finish line is back here, right before the podium. So there it is. Anyway, continuing to come down, there's the pit exit. Pit exit line continues all the way down. The topography looks all right. This seems to rise up a little bit more than it does, and there's a little bit more of a drop before the first chicane, but there is the first chicane. And you can see the multiple different configurations that it has. You can go straight on, you can cut it like the motorcycles do, or you can go all the way around like most of the cars do. Accelerating out. Curva Grande. There should be a signboard right about here, which is not replicated. Don't even see where it would be. Curva Grande, which has a little bit of positive camber in reality here. It has a bit of a drop and then a bit of a rise. This does not at all exist in reality. Then, crossing some desolation now. All of these trees that you see here are just not replicated. There's no 3D modeling even attempted. It's just flat, which is pretty sad. We have more houses that come right up to the edge of the track. The bridge is coming up. There's the bridge. Then coming down to De La Roggia, the second chicane. Go, curbing, and we continue. Not bad. You can see the official cut line that at least Formula One would use if they missed the chicane. And then you can see the trees, not at all replicated. Grass is, but no trees. And then Lesmo 1, there it is. Just flat with no real dimension to it. Just, that's disappointing. I have to say, for the first time, I'm disappointed. Lesmo 2. Coming down. We should get a drop here. Do we? A little bit of a kink. A little bit of a drop. But not much. This falls down a lot more than it shows here. A little bit of a depression in the road, but nothing. Underneath the old banking, so there is the banking. It's all flat here. However, the banking seems to be rendered in gravel and sand. And back down the Grand Prix circuit, braking for Ascari. There we go. Left, right, left again on the exit. There's the run-out strip on the exit. And then trees. Unfortunately, lots of trees and a building. Didn't see that when we flew over, but yes, there's a house here with trees growing out of it. So apparently long ago abandoned. Continuing down a straight. A hill which doesn't exist in reality. There's one of the bridges. More buildings. These look like, I don't know, glitzy condos, probably. Coming all the way down. Parabolica. Again, the path of the road is pretty well replicated, but all of the undulations that you see in the ground, they're just not there in reality. And then back to the airplane. So that's what we have, and quite unfortunately, most of the circuit is passable, but the entire thing is not passable. The banking seems to be a similar story. Obviously, the banking and the Grand Prix circuit share a common start-finish straight. However, the banking starts to turn off in this direction. And then, here we go. Do we have any banking at all here? Any camber? None. Absolutely none. It's all just flat and gradually rises and falls with the rest of the topography. The banking goes through the trees. If any sort of other structures here, or is it just all trees? All trees, it appears to be. Continuing. Just all two-dimensional here. A little bit of an access road, or was this another configuration that existed here at one time? Would not have been here. No. Down the other side. Around here there would have been a cutout to rejoin the back straight that you could see there, but is it still here? Yeah. Today it's a slip road, but this used to be a configuration. I believe that was called the Florio circuit. The Targa Florio, I believe, would comprise a Monza round at some point. And then the path of the banking continues. Staging area for equipment. Come into the final turn, which is not entirely visible at all points, but you can follow the rough trajectory. More trees. And then rejoining the modern circuit right here. So the banking is kind of there, kind of not. Certainly not to the extent that it would be visible in reality. Man. Well, with most of this circuit being flat, we might get the chance to traverse some of it in terms of being able to get into the airplane again. But it's underwhelming. I'm disappointed. I mean, Road America wasn't great. Laguna Seca wasn't great. Catalunya so far still the only one that's actually navigable in terms of being able to run the plane around it on the ground. But, I don't know, I kind of want it a little bit better, which is going to sound really stupid because I'm complaining about the rendering of a racetrack in a flight simulator, but, you know, I just wanted a little more. Anyway, engine start. Turn the ignition on.
TOS system test. Okay.
And ITT. It's good. All right, prop RPM coming up. Good. Now can we run this thing backward a little bit? Doesn't appear so in the grass. However, we may well be able to turn around or even just cut across here because I don't think there are going to be too many obstructions in our way. Nope, certainly not. Certainly not. It's not hot lapping by any means. Not in the slightest. But we can follow these interior paths around a little bit. Back here. No idea what this building is. I think we're starting to leave the beaten path here. Really nothing to see. That's just kind of disappointing to a very large extent. However, we're going to have a bit of a ramp here. We're up.
Landing
Gear is up.
gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Really, I think we should fly back toward Linate. 180 is where we need to be. And there it is. So, Monza, it was underwhelming to a very, very high degree. But oh well, it exists. We proved it exists. ITT is high. Throttle the engine back a touch.
Linden Tower Ferryman 601 is 8 miles north with Kilo to land.
I see Linate.
Ferryman 601 Linden Tower.
Right in, runway 18, we're there.
Altimeter 29er, to wind 269er at 7. Fly straight in runway 18 Ferryman.
There it is,
601.
right ahead of us. So that worked out at least.
Ferryman 601 cleared to land runway 18. Wind 269er at 7.
Alright, so I have a little bit of a crosswind.
Cleared to land runway 18 Ferryman 601.
We're getting our flaps out.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Yep, landing gear warning. Get rid of that by just giving it a touch of throttle. But a nice straight-in approach. Little bits of turbulence here. Not bad.
Landing gear.
Yeah, shut up.
Landing gear.
I know.
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Yep. So the wind will be trying to push me to our right, which I can feel a bit. But pretty good.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Gear coming. Gear down to lock 3 green. There's 95 knots. Very steep final portion of the approach. Crosswind. Main gear touchdown. Nose is down. Thrust reverser active.
Ferrymon 601, turn next taxiway.
Yes. I'm doing all the time. You don't have to remind me every second. Right.
Ferrymon 601, turn next taxiway.
I did. What else you want me to do?
01, contact ground on 121.8.
Uh-huh. Not sure that's the correct acknowledgement for a transmission like that. Parking brake set.
121.8 for Ferrymon 601.
Okay, well, all in all, rather unfortunately, I am quite underwhelmed by what we see. So it's a caution and warnings active. Fuel cutoff. Right. And battery off. Well, we found Monza. I'm not particularly pleased with what we found, but we did find it, and we, more importantly, survived. Because, again, last time that we flew this plane, we crashed into a tree at Road America, and that wasn't a very satisfactory ending to the video. But we have put all of that right, and we have returned back to where we started. So, yes, we found Monza. I'm most decidedly underwhelmed. Don't recommend it. If you haven't been here in Flight Simulator, don't bother trying to find it, because I just did it for you, and I'm telling you, definitely not worth your time. 1 star, for sure. However, be that as it may, that is our video for today. We found a racetrack, we found Monza, and quite surprisingly, we didn't like it. Until next time, though, I do thank you all very much for watching Ferrari Man 601, saying thanks, and of course, we will see you soon.